work of teaching is not something that's very well understood by the public. So I'm going to just take a moment to engage you in a little task of teaching that is routine if you're an elementary school teacher and maybe not so routine if you're not. So one of the things we know about teaching that might be the easiest thing to explain is that teachers need to understand the subject matter that they teach to young people. And that sounds easy because you think, well, what could be so difficult about knowing the subject matter of elementary school or even high school? Not that hard. Probably the main problem is, can you manage the students and can you assess their learning? Well, I'd just like to give you a little example that it starts with a simple proposition that even knowing the subject matter well enough isn't all that easy. And what we want in Michigan is to build a system in which we can ensure that every one of our children gets skillful teaching every day and every year. And the spirit of our recommendations and their details are in support of that agenda. But to just give you a bit of an exercise of what this is like, consider yourself to be someone who might be teaching 4th grade multiplication. It's a fairly simple topic. And in order to be able to do that, certainly you would need to be able to multiply on your own, and obviously you can. So imagine yourself teaching the problem 49 times 25. So why don't you just take a moment and find the correct answer to that calculation. Please.
Okay. Can I pull up my phone?
You cannot use your phone or your iPhone.
49 times 25.
What is the answer to 49 times 25? 1225. You all agree? Okay. So obviously one wouldn't want anybody teaching 3rd or 4th grade who couldn't do that. But in fact what skilled teaching involves is responding when students don't understand the material, which if they don't as they're learning, they don't automatically do the problems correctly. I'd like to show you a very typical task that a teacher would face routinely even in her first year of teaching, and that is that students might get wrong answers. And if all one could do is to identify that it's not 1225, one would be in bad condition in terms of being able to help the students learn. So here are 3 wrong answers. Because you know that the answer is 1225, you know that these are incorrect. But if all you were as a teacher able to say is to the student, you have the wrong answer, that would be a little bit like being a physician who, when someone comes into your office who's sick, you say, you seem to be sick. That wouldn't be very helpful. So I'd like you to take a moment to see how quickly you're able to ascertain what it is that the student did wrong to produce these answers. How easy is that for you to figure out? Just take a moment to look at it.
Followed Common Core.
Is there any one of you who believes right now that you understand the steps that produce the errors in all 3 cases? Nobody does? Does anybody believe that he or she has them for 2 of the 3? For 1 of the 3?
Mr. Chair, I wasn't aware that math was going to be involved.
Does anyone want to explain one of them? Actually, in the United States, it's interesting how easily one can take very well-educated, capable adults and reduce them to jelly when talking about elementary school arithmetic. Senator Colbeck?
All right, I'll go for B. How's that one? We'll go through and walk out how we think you got the math on that one. Does that make sense? So they essentially took 4 times 25 and put that down the bottom, and then they did 9 times 25 and put it up on the top. And that's what...
This is B?
Yeah, for B.
Yeah, so the student did 9 times 25, which is 225, and then simply 4 times 25, which is 100. The main thing that's incorrect there is that the student should recognize that it's 40 times 25. There's nothing wrong with reversing the order because multiplication is commutative, and you would want a teacher to appreciate that. I don't want to spend too much time on this. My main point right now is to understand that it's not expected that someone who's a legislator or a lawmaker would be somebody who could be fluent in doing this. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to take us all just for a moment into recognizing that what we actually need skillful teachers to do is not obvious. That is, it's not simple, and it's not just a matter of compelling people to do the right thing. It's actually difficult to do. In the case of C, for example, it's likely that what a student did is something rather smart, which is to estimate that 50 is rounding up from 49, and 50 times 25 would be 1,250, and then the student compensated in the wrong direction and added 25 rather than subtracting. In the case of A, it's a little bit trickier, but yet is something that if you were to teach upper elementary school, you should see immediately. And here what's most likely has happened is that 9 times 5 is 45. The student carried the 4, but added the 4 to the 4, getting 8, and then did 8 times 5 is 40, and repeated that error on line 2. 9 times 2 is 10. 9 times 2 is 18, carry the 1, added the 1 to the 4, which produces 5, and 5 times 2 is 10. If you are an experienced or skilled elementary school teacher, you will see that immediately. Someone who's good at math but doesn't understand how to help students learn math won't see that. And this is the simplest example I could use today just to make sure that we all understand that what our goal is in the end is for that not to be chancy, that our young people would have teachers skillful enough to recognize error, to put them on the right path, to help them learn the content that we expect them to learn in school. And by looking at a very simple piece of content, I thought I might just remind us that that is our goal.